He laughed in the young man's face, insisting no black teenager could ever work at his company. The boy stood frozen with shame, burning in his chest, until the elevator doors opened and his father appeared in a sharp business suit. Marcus Johnson wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was 17 years old, sitting in the lobby of Sterling Tech Solutions in downtown Atlanta, adjusting his tie and going over his answers one more time. This was his first real job interview, and he wanted everything to be perfect. He'd applied for a summer internship program, hoping to learn about business and maybe earn some money for college. His voice was quiet as he practiced introducing himself to the receptionist, but then, like teenagers often do, he mentioned something that made the man next to him look up. "My dad's probably still in meetings," Marcus explained to his friend, Tyler, who had come for moral support. "He works in corporate consulting, so his schedule's always crazy." Tyler blinked with interest. "Wait, your dad works in business too? That's cool, man." "Yeah," Marcus said with the same casual tone he used to talk about weekend plans. "He's been helping companies for like 20 years. Just got back from some big project in New York." It should have been just another normal conversation between friends. But that's when the sound of laughter cut through the air. It wasn't friendly laughter. It was sharp and mean, the kind that makes you feel small. Sitting across the lobby, reading a newspaper and checking his expensive watch, was CEO Richard Sterling himself. He was supposed to be in meetings all day, but had come down to grab coffee. He looked like any other businessman in his dark suit and shiny shoes, but the laugh was his, and it was loud enough for other people in the lobby to hear. "Corporate consulting," Sterling said, shaking his head, with a smirk. "Come on, kid. I've been running companies for 30 years, and I can tell you right now there's no way your dad is some big-shot consultant. Especially not." He paused, looking Marcus up and down, "especially not someone like you." The words hit hard. Marcus felt his face get hot, his hands starting to shake. Around him, people in the lobby had turned to look. A security guard by the front desk kept glancing over. Two office workers waiting for the elevator whispered to each other. Tyler leaned closer, voice low. "Just ignore him, man. He doesn't know anything." But ignoring wasn't possible. The CEO wasn't done talking. Sterling chuckled again and said, "Look, I get it. Kids like to make their parents sound more important than they are. My nephew used to say his dad was a secret agent. Same kind of thing, cute but not real." The embarrassment crept up Marcus's neck like fire. He wanted to defend his dad, but the words got stuck in his throat. His hands trembled as he gripped his folder of resume copies, the papers crinkling loudly. "Why would you say that?" Tyler asked, his voice shaky. Marcus swallowed hard. "Because it's true." That quiet confidence drew more laughter from Sterling. He looked around at the small group of people now pretending to be busy but clearly listening. "See, that's what I'm talking about. Nice kid living in a fantasy. Look, son, there's nothing wrong with wanting your dad to be successful. But you don't have to make up stories. Make up stories." The words felt like a punch. Marcus's father wasn't made up. He was real, working late nights, traveling for business, helping companies solve their biggest problems. But sitting there under the bright lobby lights, Marcus couldn't prove it. And Sterling knew it. That smug smile told him the CEO thought he'd won. "Tell you what," Sterling said, tapping his gold watch. "If your dad's really some hotshot consultant, maybe he should apply here. We could use a good laugh in the office." Marcus's chest felt tight. He thought about his dad's briefcase, the awards on his home office wall, the way important people called him for advice. His father had worked his way up from nothing, and now this man was tearing it all down with a smirk. His voice cracked when he finally managed to speak. "You don't know anything about him." That sentence hung in the air like a challenge. Sterling's smile dropped for just a second, but he recovered quickly, clapping his hands together like the conversation was over. "Sure, kid. Whatever helps you sleep at night." Around them, people exchanged uncomfortable looks. The security guard shook his head slightly, but no one stepped in. No one said, "The kid's telling the truth." The silence only made Marcus feel worse. Tyler shifted nervously. "Marcus, maybe we should just go upstairs for your interview." But Marcus couldn't move. His sneakers felt glued to the marble floor. This wasn't just about being embarrassed. It was about his dad, his family, his pride. Watching it get mocked in front of strangers made his stomach hurt. The lobby felt smaller now, like the walls were closing in. Every corner seemed filled with eyes, all focused on Marcus. He hugged his interview folder tighter, but nothing helped. The CEO's voice carried easily, bouncing off the high ceilings and glass walls of the fancy office building. Richard Sterling leaned back in his leather chair like he had all the time in the world, enjoying himself. "You know," he said with that half-smile that looked more like a sneer, "people don't understand what it takes to make it in corporate consulting. Years of education, connections, proven results. It's not exactly the kind of job you hear about at PTA meetings." He paused, looking around the lobby like he was giving a lecture. "And you expect me to believe your dad is one of the top guys? Come on!" The words twisted in Marcus's chest like a knot. He wished he could explain about all the times his dad worked weekends, the phone calls that came at dinner, the business trips that took him across the country, but he couldn't. Not with Sterling staring him down, not with strangers circling like they were waiting for a show. Tyler glanced nervously at the other shoppers. "We should just go," he whispered again. But Marcus shook his head. His throat felt tight, but he forced the words out. "I don't care if you believe me. My dad doesn't need your approval." That response should have ended things, but Sterling wasn't the kind of man who let a teenager have the last word. He took a step closer, lowering his voice just enough to make it feel personal, but still loud enough for others to hear. "Listen, son, I know you want to feel proud, but making up stories isn't the way. People are going to laugh, and honestly, a young man like you doesn't know what real sacrifice looks like." Marcus's ears burned. The shame he was trying to hold back started to blur his vision. Tyler put a hand on his arm, but Marcus pulled away, fists clenched at his sides. From across the lobby, a man in a baseball cap muttered under his breath, "Just let the kid talk, man." His voice wasn't loud enough to carry, and Sterling ignored it completely. Marcus took a shaky breath and spoke again, his words trembling but clear enough to carry. "You're wrong about him. You're wrong about everything." That earned another laugh from Sterling. But this one wasn't just mean. It was the laugh of someone who thought they'd already won. He looked around the lobby, almost inviting others to share in the joke. "Wrong, kid? I've built this company from the ground up. I've worked with real consultants, real business leaders. Trust me, I know the difference between the real thing and wishful thinking." The last sentence landed heavier than anything else he'd said. Marcus froze, his face hot with shame and fury. He knew exactly what Sterling meant, and so did everyone listening. Tyler gasped quietly. "That's not fair," he blurted. "You don't even know him." Sterling turned his cold gaze on Tyler, his grin getting wider. "And you do? What did you two? Sit around making up stories about your dads being important? Please, I've been in business longer than you kids have been alive. I think I know what's real and what's made up." Tyler shrank back, but Marcus stood straighter, even though his hands were shaking. "You'll see. He's coming here today." The CEO smirked like he'd just heard the best joke of his life. "Oh, he's coming here? What, is he going to walk through that door right now?" He chuckled, pointing toward the elevator. "Don't worry, kid. You'll learn. The world's tough. Better to face the truth now than keep living in make-believe. Dears." People in the lobby whispered among themselves, some shaking their heads, others pulling out their phones to record what was happening. Marcus noticed a woman pretending to flip through magazines but clearly watching them. A teenage boy near the checkout nudged his friend, pointing. The humiliation felt like carrying a heavy backpack that kept getting heavier. For the first time, Marcus wondered if he should have just kept quiet about his dad. Maybe he should have said his father was just busy instead of mentioning his job. But the thought of Sterling's smug face, of everyone believing his lies instead of the truth, made Marcus's chest burn with anger. He wiped his eyes quickly and stood taller. "You'll see," he said, his voice stronger this time. The CEO leaned back against the reception desk, folding his arms like he'd just solved a case. "All right, then, I'll wait," he said with that same nasty smirk. "This should be good." The silence after his words felt heavier than the lobby's marble floors. Every second stretched like an hour, the small crowd restless but curious. Some waited to see if Marcus would break down and admit he'd been lying. He didn't. But while Marcus stood there, fighting not to cry, his father was already walking through the building's main entrance, his leather briefcase in one hand and a folder, marked Sterling Tech board consultation in the other, about to change everything. The elevator doors slid open with a soft ding, and the quiet chatter in the lobby seemed to pause. David Johnson stepped out, his presence immediately commanding attention without him saying a word. His navy blue suit was perfectly tailored, his silver briefcase gleaming under the lobby lights, and the confident way he carried himself made people instinctively step aside. He'd just finished a 3-hour meeting with Sterling Tech's board of directors, discussing a major restructuring plan that could save the company millions. From across the lobby, Marcus spotted his father instantly. Relief hit him so hard he almost couldn't breathe. His heart jumped, but so did his fear, because now his dad was about to see everything that had happened. David's eyes scanned the lobby, looking for the usual quiet atmosphere, but instead found a crowd gathered near the seating area, his son, face flushed and hands shaking. Next to him, Tyler looking scared and protective, and standing in the center of it all, CEO Richard Sterling, leaning back like he owned the world. David's expression grew serious. He walked toward them, his expensive shoes clicking against the marble floor in a steady rhythm that made other people in the lobby turn and look. Sterling noticed him too. At first, the CEO's grin didn't fade. He figured this was just another businessman walking through his lobby. But as David got closer, something about his confidence, his expensive suit, and the way he moved made Sterling's smile wobble just a little. "Dad," Marcus's voice cracked, louder than he meant it to be, but the relief in it made even the security guard look over. David stopped beside his son, his hand resting gently on Marcus's shoulder. The tension in Marcus's body melted a little under his father's calm presence. "What's going on here?" David asked, his voice steady but carrying easily, across the lobby. Sterling straightened up, adjusting his tie, then forced his polite business smile back into place. "Good afternoon, sir. Just having a little chat with your boy here, clearing up some confusion." David's eyes moved from Sterling to the circle of people watching, then back to his son. Marcus's lips trembled as he spoke. "Dad, he said I was lying about what you do, that I made it up." The words tumbled out, half embarrassment, half desperation. David didn't respond immediately. He simply studied Sterling, letting the silence stretch just long enough to make the CEO uncomfortable. Sterling gave a nervous chuckle. "Kids, you know how they are. Big imaginations. I was just having a friendly conversation with him." David's voice stayed calm, but there was steel underneath. "You called my son a liar in front of strangers and mocked his family. That's not a conversation." The word family hit Sterling like a cold splash of water. His shoulders tensed. "Now, hold on, sir. I never called him that. I just said he was creative with the facts." David raised his hand slightly, stopping him mid-sentence. Creative doesn't mean dishonest, but dismissing a child's truth because it doesn't match your assumptions, that's something else entirely. The lobby had gone completely quiet. David reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card, extending it towards Sterling. David Johnson, senior partner at Morrison & Associates Corporate Consulting. I just finished a consultation with your board of directors upstairs. Sterling took the card, and Marcus watched his face change as he read it. The color drained from the CEO's cheeks. His mouth opened slightly, then closed again. The confident businessman who had been so sure of himself suddenly looked like he wanted to disappear. Around them, people realized they'd just watched a CEO make a complete fool of himself. Next time, David said firmly, before you laugh at a child, remember that truth doesn't need your permission to exist. The scattered applause that followed started quietly, then grew, as Marcus finally felt the weight of shame lift from his shoulders.